Religious services are among those organized events that have been canceled because of COVID-19. But many places of worship are offering online services to connect with people during what is, for many, the most holy time of the year. Reverend Julianne Bunting of St. John's Episcopal Church in Northampton spoke with Carrie Saldo about why they decided to make the shift.
Well, initially, when the coronavirus pandemic became apparent, the instructions that came from the Episcopal Diocese of Western Massachusetts were that we needed to be really careful about when we gather and disinfecting and how we shared communion. And that's what we were planning on. And then 2 weeks ago, the bishop, under the advice of public health officials, said, we're not going to gather for worship physically. It's just not safe. We can't protect one another, and our obligation is to do that. And so we're all sort of scrambling to figure out a way to worship together without physically being in the same place. And Facebook Live was the most accessible and easiest to learn modality. And we thought about how can we try to get together virtually for worship.
You, as I understand it, the diocese has, your congregation has a pretty robust online presence between website and Facebook anyway. So you had a little bit of an audience that you thought that you knew would be there. Was that a determination too, just in terms of thinking about how to connect the most quickly with the most possible people?
Absolutely. We have both a private Facebook group and a public one, as well as our public web page. And every week we send out a weekly e-newsletter to our congregation, and a big percentage of the congregation receive that. So we had the foundation to continue and just expand the offering that way.
For the Christian community, we're in the Easter season, and it's traditionally a more busy time in churches that have seen some declining numbers in recent years. Has that typical larger presence that would have been in the church followed you online so far, or is it still building?
It's still building. And what's interesting is that yesterday was our third Sunday service online, and the first week we had the biggest number so far. The second week we had technical difficulties, and yesterday we had problems with Facebook feeding smoothly, which I think reflects that more and more religious communities are streaming their services, and Sunday morning on Facebook is now a traffic jam.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's a matter of pre-recording and sharing on Sunday morning even, or something like that. Who would have thought that you'd have to be thinking about Facebook traffic jams as a reverend and videography skills? Did you ever think that this would be where you would be at?
No, absolutely not. We so much value our coming together physically for corporate worship that it was one of those things that some folks who felt like they had gifts in that area would learn how to do that and have more of an internet presence. But most of us sort of were lulled into a sense that, well, I don't really need to know that. But times change and situations develop, and you have to be adaptable. And so it's a new thing to learn, and that's exciting. And the reason for it is really important.
What about for parishioners who might not have access to the internet or are reluctant to worship in that way? Are you connecting with people who might be in those situations?
Absolutely. We do have some folks who are not on Facebook. We make the service available by a telephone conference call for them so that they can participate. And the other thing that we've established is a phone tree amongst the congregation. So the people in the phone tree have a little cadre of parishioners that they reach out to about once a week just to check in and chat and see how everybody's coping. It's nice to have a live voice on the phone to talk to, especially for some of our congregation who maybe live alone. Some of our older folks, it's really important that we continue to maintain our relationship so that nobody feels totally isolated.
How are people coping? What are you hearing?
It's very interesting. The different demographic groups within the parish. Some of the folks who are older and who lived alone before this, they kind of have a skill set of how to cope and how to keep occupied. Some of the other folks for whom this is a new experience, it's a little more challenging. There's a range of things people are doing, from crafts and creative things to reading a lot There's some binge watching of Netflix and things like that. And then there's a fair amount of cabin fever amongst some folks. So they try to get out and get a walk with appropriate social distance. And the families who have their kids home, who are trying to do schoolwork while the parents are trying to work remotely, they're having an exciting and interesting time. People are coping okay, but it's a strange new world in a lot of ways.
Outside of the Christian community, we're coming upon the Passover season for the Jewish faith and Ramadan for the Muslim community. Have you spoken to other faith leaders about this time of year, and what are you hearing from people?
I'm in several various interfaith clergy, and everyone is trying to switch gears from what are the biggest celebrations of the year and figure out ways to do it virtually. We want to continue to observe the traditions. I was hearing this morning about virtual seders for Jewish family and friends to celebrate, where the recipes were disseminated by email so that people could have the same traditional foods and they can go through the Haggadah by conference call, but each in their own home. And similarly, the usual custom in Ramadan of breaking the fast together, which is so celebratory, people thinking about ways to do that without physically gathering. It's a big challenge because these are our biggest celebrations of the year, and we just love to get together to have those celebrations. So it's a new way to recognize that we can celebrate even if we're not in the same physical location.
Something else that occurred to me, when you're in the physical church, there's often a financial offering that's collected or a tithe, depending on how you refer to it. Is this a concern that the community has right now, that you'll see a decrease in that since people aren't able to come together physically?
We have a number of folks whose offering is given electronically through the electronic banking, which is lovely. And the other folks we've sort of gently reminded to mail in their offerings as they're able to. We also know a lot of folks are acutely concerned about their livelihood right now. People have been laid off or their hours cut. And so both at the parish level and at the diocesan level, we're trying to be sensitive to the economic stress that people are under right now.
You've been sharing a verse of the day online on Facebook, and I'm speaking with you on March 30th. So today's verse was, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in the darkness." And that's from John 8:12. Why was that an important verse for you to share?
Because everybody's life and every community's life has times that feel really difficult and really challenging. And this certainly is one of them, where this pandemic is scary at times. And we would be wrong to deny that there's a scary element to it. And yet, we see so many people reaching out to care for one another. As Christians, we see Jesus as the source of our guidance for how to behave as human community. And so even in this time that we're working through a lot of ambiguity, the unknown, the need to really be careful from a public health perspective, we also know that light is there to guide us through Jesus and to help us to help one another.